Keep watching this video for tips on how to build massive stackable DIY acoustic pianos. Like this 9-inch thick triple insulated gobo, whatever that means. These 6-inch thick double insulated clouds. These dual purpose diffusers, they have two purposes, people, come on. Or a favorite of many producers, these 32.5 inch across, 17 inches deep, super chunk style bass trap. I'll give you the breakdown of the cost, ways to save on cost, and where I recommend buying some of your supplies, the designs, tools I recommend, and I'll show you how I learned to build these more economically and more efficiently to save money. This studio build is the culmination of years of planning to pursue my music career full-time. Paid my way through college where I occasionally worked on a beat or worked on a song or two. I worked full-time cutting grass and was just always adding on to the studio that I had, a closet. And then I got some of those little foam, you know what I'm saying? The little thingies that don't work well at all. I just kept working on it, and over time it has built into this. So over the past 10 years it's been a hobby and a passion, and now it's something I can do. So I worked on this house that I bought when I was a supervisor at a Fortune 300 company after I graduated college. I said I'm gonna flip this house so I can get some money to build a legit studio. So flipping the house, the market went. So I took advantage of that, sold it, and my awesome wife said I could use the dining room, which is this space here, as the studio, and here we are. So proper acoustic treatment can be very complicated, which is why I hired GIK Acoustics for some outside consultation. Both of some of my idols starting out on YouTube recommended to use GIK Acoustics, so that's what I did. I gave GIK Acoustics a call and said, I want to do a DIY project and build my own studio. Can you help me with this? And I talked to Mike, who was super cool to work with. They said, yeah, I can help you, but you need to have some accurate measurements because our hourly rate is kind of high. We don't typically sell design plans, we sell the actual product. I said, cool. I gave him accurate designs of the width, the length, where the windows were in the room, the width of the windows, how deep the windows were in the wall, what kind of floor there was, what kind of ceiling there was, the arch of the ceiling, everything that I could measure, I measured, and I put it in this design that I then sent to Mike at GIK Acoustics and told him, this is what I want. Mike came up with this idea here. His idea really came down to versatility. I want to mix, I want to record people, I want there to be drummers in there, I want a moving blankets hanging from the ceiling to use as a studio and put it on a track. And Mike was like, that's stupid, just put some gobos out there and slide them around. Took that a step further, ended up putting some wheels on the gobo. I ended up making a few adjustments to simplify this project a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I made the clouds a good bit bigger, I installed less, and I made these gobos, I made them a little bit taller. And this was just to make some of my measurements fit better, which I'll show you later on. Shout out to Mike at GIK Acoustics. I called other companies, kind of laughed at me and said, we sell products, we don't sell consultation. But GIK worked with me, and Mike was super awesome, super friendly, very professional. And I gotta say, he told me he thought the sound would be amazing, and the dude delivered. The sound, especially when I move these gobos up here to the front, it's just dead. I'm gonna start by going over the design, cost, materials, and the tools needed. Each gobo in the design is 10 inches deep, 48 inches wide, and 39.5 inches tall. Am I still peaking? Gosh. I'm still peeking. Each gobo in the design is 10 inches deep, 48 inches wide, and 39.5 inches tall, and will be filled with 3 layers deep with Rockwool safe and sound insulation. Designs are very specific and will allow for 6-hole bats and 3 half bats to fit into these frames. That's 2.5 bats per layer. Every frame we built at some point or the other is going to have supports with it, and these are just going to help support the structure. I accounted for the supports in my overall cost. I'll break that down into more detail later. Yeah. Next we have our diffusers. These are gonna have the same frame as the GOBOS, with the difference being they're now acting dual purpose. You have all these slats going in on one side of it. Disclaimer, you got your regular GOBOS are lightweight, not super difficult to deal with. These diffusers are heavy. Get you a friend to come help. Okay. The main difference with the diffusers is you have one side acting as that diffuser, which is technical stuff that I really don't want to break down in this video, and your other side is acting as insulation or your absorber. So if you rotate it, one side acts as, you have a different application depending on what you're doing. How are you going to use it? I still don't know. I'm just kind of a noob, but let's just, we gonna find out. The main difference in the workload as far as the diffusers or the regular GOBOS is these diffusers are just honestly gonna take a lot more work. They're gonna take a lot more time because you're nailing in, it's like 37 or 38 slats per diffuser. The total slats I stripped was about 266 slats, and that took some time. So I just did them all together.
Okay.
Next we have our clouds, which are built in a rectangle like our GOBOS, but with different measurements. These will be 48 by 32 inches by 6 inches deep and will fit 4 bats of insulation snugly into the frame. If you're watching this video and wondering why I did something's double and something's triple, I think Mike was more so going with, like, let's just make these GOBOS 10 inches wide so they can stand on each other. I don't really know if the 3 thick is necessary yet, but I will tell you, when I put those GOBOS around me and use them as a booth under a cloud, it's dead. If there's music going around, like I've told, like I walk in that thing, it's
like walking into a black hole.
Walking into a funeral home, you know, just silence. So these clouds, it's just a square, rectangle, whatever. And for this one, the supports aren't as important. They're not as necessary, and that's because they're hanging, right? They're just gonna be hanging from the ceiling. So if you theoretically have a string on each corner, it's kind of supporting itself. If you can get it up there carefully, gingerly, whatever. Your GOBOS are different because they're gonna be supporting each other. In total, I built 15 GOBO absorbers, 7 dual-purpose GOBO diffusers, 6 bass traps, and 9 clouds, including a waste factor of 10%, not including insulation because you can shove insulation anywhere. I used 26 boards of 4x8 by 3/4 inch MDF. Total price, $850. 20 packs of safe and sound insulation, with each pack having 4 bats that measured 47 inches by 15 1/4 inches, $1,460. 34 yards of 108-inch wide fabric, $255. I got a steal on that fabric. Thousands of nails and staples, a pack of industrial zip ties, eye hooks to hang the clouds, all that was like $95. The delivery fees for the lumber was about $105 because it's right down the road. Worked out good for me. The consulting fee only cost me $300. Way worth it. My measurements were good. They were on point, so he could send me something to work with. If you're thinking I'm just gonna call GIK and give him a couple measurements, if you don't put in the work and give him some good measurements, his hourly rate for me, I ain't gonna tell you what it was, but let's just say it took under 3 hours for him to put these designs together. So, with taxes and including the consulting fee, which cost roughly $10 per item, used as overhead, each GOBO cost me roughly $89.95. Each diffuser cost me roughly $121.39. Each bass trap cost me $88.08, and each cloud cost me $55.68. So you could subtract $10 from that and just build these things yourself, and you know what I'm saying? This is what you can expect to pay if you find material at the same price that I did, and if you build more than just one. It's somewhat of a bulk reference, because if you buy 10 sheets of MDF and you have a ton left over because you only did a few gobos, it's obviously going to cost you more per gobo. But with me, at the end of it, having 28 sheets of MDF, 1/2 maybe of a sheet left over, maybe. Simple stuff. I mean, you make the bolt. So obviously if there's inflation or depending on where you live, I live in Mississippi, in Jackson, like lumber prices weren't too bad here 4 or 5 months ago when I was building this. Might be different.
1, 2, 3, the years go by like a skyline from a jet line. 4, 5, 6 years gone. Now I'm looking at the future out in front of me like, okay, lucky number 7. 6 long years brought me lucky number 7. Like, okay, lucky number 7. I'ma keep on, I'ma dream on.